time for another Soul Finder podcast. Kathy D. Carter, kathydcarter.com. Please go there and learn all about Kathy after you listen to this episode. Because I want to talk about victimhood.
Okay. Very good topic.
It is something I'm extremely insensitive. I'm so insensitive to it.
Yes.
I'm sensitive to it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it really bothers me when people play the victim card.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point, I don't care, and you please disagree if you want. At some point, I don't care how bad your childhood was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how bad you had it, and people have had bad childhoods.
Right.
People have had awful childhoods.
Right.
People have been in awful situations.
Right.
But at some point, as far as I'm concerned, you got to stop being a victim.
Yes.
And at some point, you have to put a statute of limitations on it and realize that by being a victim, you're just making it worse.
Right. However, what I would say to that is there are a lot of people out there that are playing the victim card that are not conscious of the fact that they're playing a victim card.
Yes.
And that comes from, as I've mentioned before, being in the sandbox. You can be in the sandbox and stay a victim all your life because it's easy to surround yourself with people that believe in victimhood, that will teach you, oh, you're this way because this person did this to you, or you're this way because this person did this to you, or you feel this way because this person said this to you. And that's incorrect learning. But there's lots of people that believe that in the collective. I mean, a lot of our collective still plays victimhood. And it's only through evolving your soul and healing your stored emotion and the traumas that you've been through that you're able to become aware that you're being a victim and how to get out of it. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
The other problem with the victimhood part with people is it's seeing what's wrong and you're not taking responsibility. So that's the steps that I take people through in the Soul Finder program is we're all victim survivors starting out, all of us. But then we go into the healing step where we become aware of what's taking place, our repeating patterns of behavior, how we're playing victim, and how to get out of that, how to heal that and not be a victim anymore. Because what you want to do after the healing is you become the creator of your life. And as the creator of your life, you are all responsible for everything in your life. So you're responsible for how you feel. You're responsible for everything in your life. It's a choice how you see it and how you react to it.
I understand I go way too far on this, but when you say the creator of your life,
mm-hmm.
I think everyone can do that.
Right.
And I expect everyone to do that.
And we should. As a collective consciousness, we should expect that. But do you know how many teachers are able to get people through those steps? There's not many out here that teach and help get those people out of the sandbox and aware of themselves enough to start healing.
Well, and but we talk about things that you're born with and things I believe I'm born with
right.
that I wasn't taught,
right?
That I didn't learn. This is one of those things I think that I wasn't necessarily taught
mm-hmm.
or that I didn't necessarily learn, but you absolutely can learn it.
Yes.
You absolutely can absolutely can teach it.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's common sense.
It is, but we have a lot of grown-up public figures that are still playing the victim. They're still in the victim survivor mode.
And there's so many examples of it.
Yes.
That you're talking about.
TV, books, all kinds of things still teach the victim survivor mode of living.
And you cannot get in control of your life when you're letting other people who have bad intentions have any control of your life.
Even if they have good intentions.
Well, that's true, yeah. And there are some extreme examples that I think are very easy to see and to talk about and to handle. But I think there's also some subconscious, possibly, the way my parents treated me, but if you're able to put that in a sentence and actually articulate, well, my parents never gave me a hug, and therefore this is why I'm the way I am. Okay, well, you know what? Change that pattern. If you're able to say that, you're able to recognize it. Now, some people may not be able to recognize things that happened to them in the past that are creating what is being created right now. I feel bad for those people.
Right.
But if you can put it in a sentence,
You've
overcome
started.
it.
Awareness is always the first step before you can heal anything, is having the awareness of what happened and it being truth to you. The biggest problem that we have is the generational lineage repeating the same cycles over and over with every lifetime, because what happens is you're in a mother, you're growing in the body of a person that believes all of this stuff, may have money issues, may have the victimhood still never healed. So she still has the victimhood, just like my mother. She taught me that everything that happened to me was somebody else's fault.
Yep.
And I grew up not knowing that. I also grew up not knowing that I could be in charge of how I felt, because she taught me that the way I felt was because of something somebody else did.
And that's the problem we have as a country.
Yes, it's huge.
Not to get political, but one of the ways people can keep their power is to make you think you're a victim.
Absolutely.
And I truly do believe, and it's not a conspiracy theory, and I'm not even going to say it's evil, but those that are in power, they want to keep their power.
Well, it becomes, they're not healed because the ego takes over. And it's the ego that won't let them give up the power.
Yeah.
It's not a healed, evolved person that can't give up power. It's only the ego that latches on and that says,
Well, and that's why I wouldn't even, and I don't disagree with you, but I don't even care. I just know for a fact, to me, it's a fact. People in power want to keep their power, whether it's good intentions, bad intentions, whether it's evil. They want to keep, and part of the way they can keep their power is for other people to believe that they're victims.
And this goes on any level.
Yeah.
Any level.
And
it can go in the household.
Oh, yeah. And the household's probably the easiest to understand.
Yes.
And the easiest to see. It's the easiest to spot. But I think that our leaders and world leaders do it on purpose.
It's an addiction. The ego becomes addicted to it. And the only way that in my opinion today, the only way the ego stays in that much control is because they haven't healed their stored emotion, and they have let the ego control them. And the ego is fueled by the stored emotion, which says, I need this. I can't survive without this. And that becomes the addiction for the person. The power is an addiction.
Now, this is where I'm very insensitive, because the minute someone, they don't even have to say it out loud. Say it out loud, it's done with me. But the minute I think that someone is leaning on the I'm a victim card, I'm out. I don't want to be with that person. I don't want to mentor that person until they're able to get to the point where they can recognize that ultimately they have control. They may have, you're going to be much better at this. if you take control, you're not a victim anymore.
True, to a certain extent. When you said that you would not help someone that was playing the victim card, if they came to me and said, I want to change my life.
That's a different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, that's a different situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
because a lot of times people are unconscious. They don't know how to change it.
Mm-hmm.
They know they're in a miserable life, but they haven't had the awareness yet that they're playing the victim card. But they're willing to learn when they ask for help.
Yeah, and you need to know that until you ask for help or until you acknowledge that, playing the victim card is just going to keep you
stuck
where you're
in
at.
It. Yeah, it keeps you stuck in it.
And that's just, and it impacts, I've kind of walked the line here, but I'm just going to cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
It impacts whole generations of people and groups of people. Yes. And just because your ancestors were oppressed, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, just because, your great-great-grandfather was put in a Japanese internment camp, or your ancestors were slaves,
mm-hmm.
or your ancestors were immigrants that lived a very poor
mm-hmm.
on the poverty line. Doesn't mean you have to.
No. And that's what is not held in the collective consciousness as a belief. The belief is that, you do have to, you're going to repeat what's been. And that's what we have to change. And that's what I call the warriors that's on the planet now. The warriors are here to absolutely stop and heal the generational lineage repeating cycles of this type of behavior.
And just as it's dangerous for me not to put myself in other people's shoes, which I don't think I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be impossible for me to actually put myself in other people's shoes, victims.
Right.
It's wrong of the victims not to understand the people that they think didn't have issues or didn't have obstacles. And that's wrong, because
mm-hmm.
everyone has issues.
Well, that's playing victim again.
Everyone has obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't see it
mm-hmm.
doesn't mean it's not there.
Exactly.
And part of, to me, and you're going to say it a lot better than I am, to me, part of surviving victimhood
mm-hmm.
is, rather than looking at people that you look at and think they're not victims, they have great lives, understanding that they overcame a lot of things to get to where they are.
They have healed.
And in one of the episodes we talked about people that were fortunate enough to be born into good families or rich families. I need to slap myself. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're good.
Right.
But good and rich families, or rich families, doesn't mean they don't have problems.
Rich people are just as unhappy as poor people.
And maybe even more.
And yes, maybe even more.
But as a victim, you need to understand you're not the only victim.
Right. But that is a typical thing for the victim, because the victim is only concentrated upon themselves.
Yeah.
And that is something, in my belief today, they really can't help. That is a cycle of the process of them coming out of victimhood. Is they have to become so miserable with that they want to change it.
And that will change the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Hopefully.
It starts it.
Because I've never felt like a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I wouldn't recognize if I had a bad childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I did. And my brother may think he had a bad childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe that's all relative. Maybe it's all in your point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you had the worst childhood, It's over.
It is over. Now,
unless you keep bringing it up.
Okay, and there's a good point there. The way that our collective operates right now, it's study history, study history. We don't want to repeat history. Look at history. Look at what we've already done before. As long as we're looking at history and we're staying stuck in the history of what happened before, we're going to repeat it. There is no way to keep from repeating it when you're studying history all the time. We have to shift this planet to the only time that you're out of the present moment is when you're creating your future. That's the only time you should leave the present moment.
I like that.
Because when you leave the present moment and you're carrying your past with you, you're in anxiety or panic mode or fight or flight. The only time you want to leave being present in the moment is only to go to the future, to dream and imagine what your future is going to be like, and then you come back to the present moment.
I like that a lot. Okay, feel free, because this may be an awful analogy. It's not controversial.
Uh-huh.
But I just am thinking about it out loud. That what do people do that live in the Northeast? Or even here?
Uh-huh.
We have a big ice storm and a big snowstorm. It keeps us locked in for 4 days down here.
Yeah.
The roads are icy. You can't leave your apartment. You can't leave your house. You can't go anywhere for 4 days. The sun comes out on the 5th day. Everything melts. What do? What's the first thing you do? You go out.
Yeah.
You don't sit in your place thinking, whoa, the last 4 days really sucked. You say, the sun's out. I'm going to make the best of this.
Right.
Okay. To me, and this is where it may be a real bad analogy.
No, I don't. I think it's pretty good. Keep going.
The last 100 years have really sucked. But it doesn't suck now. Mm-hmm. So rather than sitting in my place complaining about how my people were treated 400 years ago, or
my
how
mom,
bad
my mom beat me, or my dad beat me.
How bad my childhood was. Mm-hmm. You're not a child anymore. Mm-hmm. The sun's out. Mm-hmm. Go make it a great day.
Mm-hmm. It's a choice.
Don't just sit inside and sulk about the way you were treated. Mm-hmm. Go out there and make your... Mm-hmm. God, you know what? The more I think about that, why was I even questioning that? I'm going to say it one more time, Kathy.
That was a good one.
If you've been snowed in for 4 days and the sun comes out on day 5, you don't sit around moping that, man, it sucked. I was snowed in for 4 days.
Yeah, and I got to play games and watch TV.
You go out and you enjoy the weather. Mm-hmm. You don't sit around complaining.
Right.
About what happened yesterday.
Absolutely.
Damn, I'm smart.
The only thing, the way that I would relate your analogy to the healing work that I do with people is, what you're saying is, tell me if I'm leaving anything out. Forget your past. It's over. Make the choice to be happy today and move forward.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with that to a certain extent. The healing that needs to take place, however, is a period of time where you learn your emotions and you release that stored emotion. And the only way to release stored emotion is to be triggered. Now, you can be triggered by a movie. You can be triggered by the driver that cuts you off. But somehow the stored emotion, the stored pain, the stored grief, you have to learn how to process emotions and release that. Because if you don't, when you're out here, oh, the sun's shining and I'm all good and I forgot the past and I'm not, it doesn't affect me anymore. Just as soon as that person tells you that you have to go do this and you get angry, that's from the victim survivor that didn't get healed, and it's still a trigger, and it still shows that there's something to be healed.
So you're saying I'm making it way too simple.
A little bit. Just a little bit. Not on the big picture. Mm-hmm. That is kind of what has to be done. But there is the healing step in there that you can't skip. And so many, I'm telling you, all the modalities out there now, they're not permanent help to heal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're not permanent. And what I believe, because I've done it for myself, and what I believe and see in others, you have to go through this step to make it permanent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That would be my only, what do you call it? A little addition.
Addendum?
Yes, addendum.
See, and that's, and I need to get better about this, is that, like I said, the minute I think someone's being a victim, I just lose interest.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that is something that, honestly, when people heal and they are at a different vibrational frequency than the victims, if you go back down to the victim level, you're saying you're downgrading the healing work that you have done. Mm-hmm. And literally, I mean, you could give it all up and get sucked back into the sandbox again. And you don't want to do that. But so you have to have the boundaries.
The other thing about me, and this may be a victim type along the same lines of in this topic, is I truly believe that anything bad that happens to me, mm-hmm. First of all, it's hard for me to recognize bad, but anything negative or bad, even if it's ultimately not my fault, mm-hmm. I've done something to contribute to it. In the first place I look is myself. And meaning that even if I didn't contribute to it, I recognize it's bad. So that means that I'm involved in whatever happened.
Okay, so when they broke in your vehicle and stole all of your stuff.
Yes, my fault.
Your fault.
Not my fault. But I'm the one that left my stuff in the vehicle. I'm the one that probably left a camera in plain view. So even though I'm not taking the blame.
Right.
And it's not my fault.
Right.
And I'm livid at the people that did it.
Right.
And I do think they should be put to death. Believe it or not, I do. I do recognize that I did contribute a little bit to it. Mm-hmm. And that's on me. Mm-hmm. That little piece. Now, I don't care if the doors were unlocked or if I had the stuff on the hood of the car. They shouldn't have taken it.
Right, right.
But
we live in a society where we know that's a probability, so therefore.
And I think it's only responsible when things happen, mm-hmm. whether you're to blame or not, to take an honest assessment. Okay, what could I have done better? Fortunately, I haven't had this with. I've had it with one client, but business-wise, if I lose a client or I get into it with a client, what did I do?
Yeah, what was my part? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing to always look at. That is one of the healing techniques that I use is when you get triggered, mm-hmm. you were triggered, your stuff was taken.
Yeah.
You were a little angry. When you get triggered, you go inside and you say, okay, when have I felt like this before? Mm-hmm. What were the circumstances at that point in time? Because there is somewhere back through there, you get to the core event, that's where the stored emotion is. And once you release that stored emotion, you would have seen your vehicle, you would have seen the stuff stolen, and you would have had anger for the moment because
that's exactly what happened.
That was the emotion of the moment. Mm-hmm. And you have to feel it, heal it, release it instead of storing it away.
And you know what? That's not exactly what happened. Because my anger happened for a brief period of time.
Right.
Well after I saw that I got broken into.
Okay.
Because quite honestly, I got in the truck and I started it. And I could hear more than I usually hear. And I looked, and my back window was broken. I didn't realize that it was broken. My original thought was, oh, man, this sucks. It wasn't anger. Mm-hmm. It was, okay, I'm going to have to deal with an insurance company. Mm-hmm. I wonder what they took. Mm-hmm. And then the anger came, and it was very brief.
Right.
The anger was, God.
Yeah, because that was the emotion of the moment that you got to. See, someone else that had a lot of stored anger that was that type of anger, they would have stayed angry for months or weeks or whatever, but they would have been in the total victim mode of the situation.
And once again, not patting myself on the back, but I do truly believe that the people or the person who broke into my truck does not deserve to breathe any oxygen right now.
Well, that's a strong
but I'm
statement.
not mad. Because I do live by another accident. I'm not going to let anyone else ruin my day. If my day is ruined, that's on me.
Exactly.
That's completely on me. No matter
difference.
what the world throws at me, no matter how many people break in, you are not going to have the power over me to ruin my day.
You're not going to give them your power.
Yeah.
Because when you say, oh, you've ruined my day, you have just handed them your personal power on a platter and said, you get to control my day.
And that is not going to happen.
No, we don't want that to happen.
You may be able to control a minute. You may be able,
well, of course,
possibly control. I don't even think I'll let you control a moment. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to react and that you can't ruin a minute of my day.
Right.
But I will say that I think I'm going to be really good about getting upset and then saying, okay, let's move on. Let's go.
That's why everyone has so much trouble with the manifesting concept, because a victim can't manifest.
But what I'm saying, though, also, is it, even though that happened, almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
You remember it. Almost a year ago. If that person that broke into my truck came in here right now and I could kill him, I would kill him. But you know what? I'm not wasting any time fretting over it or thinking about it.
Right.
But I am very opinionated about it, but it's not ruining. So it's not like I'm just blowing it off. Does that make sense? That's why I'm saying I would kill him.
There's still some residual there.
How wrong I think it was.
Right.
But even though I think it's that wrong, I'm not letting it mess around with any of my days, any of my minutes.
Okay. But if you were to kill them, you're making the conscious intention to deal with that karma.
I'm making the conscious decision to make sure that he doesn't take any, or she, take anything from anyone else. I'm taking someone who doesn't deserve to walk on the face of this earth because they care so little about other people that they're willing to intentionally make the decision to break a window, break into a truck, and take stuff that's not theirs. That's how strongly I feel about it. But as strong as I feel about that,
right, they're
not going to ruin my day.
Right. I hear that.
So it's not like I'm just like, it's okay, no big deal. It is a big deal.
Right.
It is absolutely a big deal. And I know I make a bigger deal about it than the average person. But even saying that, I'm not going to impact the rest of my life. Right. I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm not going to walk around. I'll make the adjustments I need to make that I can make. I don't leave my computer in my car anymore. Stuff like that. I'll control what I can control. And so I just want to make it clear, I'm not just blowing. You don't have to blow it off in order for it not to control you. You can still feel strongly about it.
You have it packed away over here in a little box.
Well, yeah, there's nothing I can do. But you put me in a position where I can do something?
That concerns me a little.
I can tell.
But we're not going to go there right now. Because I would just say that you're making the conscious intention, I'll pay the karma on that.
I know the world's not ready for my type of justice, which is one of the reasons that I may or may not have sold my gun. If you're listening with bad intentions, I still own a ton of guns. But maybe I sold them because I know that if I saw the person that broke into my car and while they were breaking into my car, they're shot.
Well,
And I'm not thinking twice.
I can relate to that because there was a point in time in my life that I carried a gun because we carried a lot of money and I had the license to carry it with the sheriff's office
so
and
do I.
everything.
So do I.
And I quit carrying it because there was someone that if I had the opportunity, I probably would have shot too.
Okay.
And I quit carrying it because I knew that I was very capable of doing that. And I chose to take myself out of the situation where I could do it because I didn't want to pay the consequences.
See, and that's kind of where I was at. I knew that it wouldn't be out of, I want to kill someone. It would be out of, I do think it's justified if someone's stealing your stuff. No, I just don't want those people on the earth.
Well, we're back to judging who gets to stay and who doesn't.
No, that's a decision they made. I'm not judging anything.
Oh, well, there's a judgment that if you steal from somebody else, you don't get to live here.
Yes.
Well, then we get into all these other judgments that people have. Oh, you look funny today. You don't get to live here.
No.
Who draws the line?
The person committing the theft.
Oh, so it's just theft.
Well, there are certain things I think we can all agree. If we had a poll where everyone had to vote, is stealing right or is it wrong? Mm-hmm. I think if people were being honest, 100% of the people would say stealing is wrong.
Well, is it wrong to steal out of the garbage can to keep your kid alive?
That's not stealing from someone.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's garbage.
Okay, so they're stealing from the apple stand that's out on the sidewalk.
That's someone that's trying to make money. That's different. That's stealing. If I took my MacBook computer and put it in a dumpster and someone goes in there and gets it, it's not stealing. But if my MacBook computer is in my car and in order to get to it, you have to break a window.
Well, what if they didn't have to break the window?
Still, it's in my car.
Okay, we agree on that.
To me, it's not that hard. And I know you're going to come up with one that is hard.
I don't think I am because my brain's getting tired.
Oh.
It's like, I understand where you're coming from, but then there's always those exceptions what do you do with those?
Well, I can't think of an exception. If someone consciously, knowingly, with intent, breaks into my car and steals something, they are not good people. They should be shot. They shouldn't be here. That's their decision. It's not mine.
Well, it was their decision to break in. It's your decision to kill them.
No,
Oh, you're the victim. Oh, I see.
I'm not the victim.
Oh, you're the victim.
That's a great. I'm glad you brought that up. That is my point. Is even as strongly as I feel about that, I'm not going to be the victim.
But
I don't let myself be the victim, even though I truly believe that person shouldn't be there. That person is not going to impact my life one bit until I can impact their life.
Well, that's what I'm
or
saying.
Death.
Are you not the victim of the robber, and that gives you the justification to kill the robber?
I think everyone is justified to kill that robber. I'll put it out there right now. If someone comes to you and says, I'm the one that stole Frito's MacBook and his camera, and I'm going to tell you, go ahead and kill him.
Oh, my.
But that's what I want to make clear is that I feel so strongly about that, but I'm not going to let that person control my life.
Right.
So it's not just blowing it off.
Right.
You don't have to blow things off in order not to be a victim. You don't have to necessarily... Ooh, I'm walking myself into a corner here. Mm-hmm. Because I will tell you this, and people may not understand this, and I completely understand why they would. If that same person walked in here right now and asked for my forgiveness, I'd be the first to forgive them. If that person came in and said, look, I stole your stuff, I'm very sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Mm-hmm. You got my forgiveness. Mm-hmm. So I'm very extreme.
A little, maybe.
On each side. Because I will forgive.
Yes. So the kid that was beaten all of his life has the right to go kill his dad?
Did his dad break the law?
Yeah, he abused the kid.
Yeah, he does. But if he's smart, he knows he can get punished for it.
Okay.
And
there are consequences.
Yeah.
Plus, there's the universal energy.
Well, I don't think the universe will punish him.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, I think the universe knows.
Well, hey, I'm not here to say you're right or wrong. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what that kid doesn't have the right to do. That kid does not have the right to have his own kid and beat his own kid and say, well, that's what my dad did. That's what he does not have the right to do.
But that's what our generational lineage does. That's the repeating cycle of the generational lineage.
Allowing yourself to be a victim does you're exactly right. It creates that cycle and doesn't break. Mm-hmm. Because if you allow yourself to be a victim, then you just repeat that cycle.
And that's why I call out energetically to all the warriors, because literally all my clients that come in are warriors. Mm. Hardly ever do I get one that's not. And they only last one visit anyway if they're not. But they're warriors that are here to change stop those repeating cycles of the generational lineage, and they're lost. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what's going on, and they're so damaged because they've been so beaten up through life, and they're on lots of antidepressants. They're on ADHD medicine. They're hooked on all this medicine that is, in a way, it is desensitizing them to the point that they don't understand what life is anymore. Yeah. Because the drugs are controlling them, and they're lost. But once they come into me, I can help them get out of that and find their way again. Mm-hmm.
And that's important.
Yes.
Vitally important.
And it's something that
and it has
most
generational
of the time,
impact.
Yes. For generations, forwards and backwards. Because when you heal lots of people around you energetically, because your energy has changed. True. It affects way out around you. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? The other thing, and we'll probably get into this in a future episode, but I think you just brought up a great point. No matter where you are or which stage you are in life or in your frequency, there are other people watching.
Mm-hmm. You're a role model.
And you don't know that. Mm-hmm. You may not feel like a role model. You may not want to be a role model.
But you are.
But you are to someone.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's that little child that comes over every month and sees you are a role model to that little child. They see something you do, and it goes into their mind and their body, and they think it's okay because they saw Uncle so-and-so do it.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about the guy that was the owner of the restaurant I worked at.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now, he probably does know. He probably did that with intention.
Probably.
To be a good role model and to all that. But you haven't met her yet. I heard a girl named Mandy. I say girl, she's a woman. Mm-hmm. And I told Mandy, in front of a group of people yesterday, as a matter of fact, I said, look, the group was talking about managing people and managing businesses. Mm-hmm. And I told the group, and Mandy was there, I said, I'm saying this on purpose in front of you, Mandy, that I'm trying to keep you away from other employees I hire because I'm much more patient with you, because you're an investment, and I can see a very good future. And right now you've got a young child and you've got things in your schedule that may keep you from doing certain things. Mm-hmm. But I'm much more patient with you than I'm going to be with anyone else, because I see the future and I see the opportunity, and I'm willing to make that investment. I'm not necessarily willing to make that investment with the other people I hired. And I hope not only did that give her some confidence and I was being totally honest, first of all, and totally genuine. But also, I know other people in the room that were business owners. You know, I hope that influenced them.
Yeah, they need to see that, because we need to be concerned about our employees. We need to remember they're human.
And the way that started was, Mandy was talking. The question was about leadership and how you lead your employees, and she realized she didn't belong in this group. But she said, "Well, I'm an employee of Frito, and he is so patient and so understanding." And I'm like, "Well, what? Slow down, because I'm not. Let's get something straight. I'm not that patient, and I'm not that understanding. I am with you because of these reasons, but if I didn't see it in you, I don't treat you like I treat everyone else, and I don't treat everyone else the way I treat everyone else."
Right.
I treat individuals.
Everybody's an individual. Yeah. You have to, and that's what, like, our medical system misses.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Everyone is an individual. Their body requirements are all different.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that would be hard to adjust to, but it is. One person doesn't need 10 days of this pill. They only need 3 days of it. But I understand why it's the way it is.
And going back to the victimhood, too, is that all victims aren't the same.
Oh, no.
And they don't overcome it the same way.
No.
And,
absolutely not.
You know, some people, the best way to overcome victimhood, and I'll put it to you this way, usually they talk about revenge, but it's to rise above it.
It's to rise above it after you've released the emotions around it,
Yeah.
would be what I would add to that. Because I see it all the time. The damage that is done, let's just take a narcissistic parent with a child. And let's say the child was an empath. The damage done to that child does not just disappear, even with them wanting it to just disappear. Those roots of what damage that parent did to them is in there and still affects and controls their very being, their very decision-making ability, their ability to move forward in life until they can heal that pain that was caused. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that you can't just, I wish you could go empty a bucket and it'd be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think it's that easy.
Well, there are energy healers out there that can literally remove stored emotion from your energy field. But the problem is it's not permanent. Until you learn how to process your emotions yourself and you become your own master, it's not a permanent heal.
Yeah. And that should be everyone's goal.
Yes.
Become your own master.
Yes, absolutely. Master of your mind, which means your thoughts. So you generate the thoughts you want to be thinking, not let that parent voice that's in there still telling you the same negative stuff, going wild.
Some great advice to end it on. Become your own master.
That's right.
All right, KathyDCarter.com. Tell a friend about these podcasts. I love it when Kathy comes in because I get so much out of it. And I know you and your family and your friends will also. So, man, check these podcasts out. Listen to more than one because there's some great information in there. Not just because I'm on it.
Because we're both on it.
There you go.